Meanwhile, as Dr. Chang continues to pursue answers, others are already claiming to have solutions.
A little bit down towards your feet.
This is Matthew Dietrich. His parents are concerned about his moodiness.
And this is just going to wrap around your head.
For nearly $3,000, this diagnostic center claims that it can identify undiagnosed conditions and help determine the best medication. But this machine is not like Dr. Chang's. It only measures blood flow patterns in the brain. And it's located on a commercial strip in Denver at a company called Brain Matters.
So now what we're going to do is talk about the results from your brain scan. Okay? Are you excited? Are you nervous? No? You're not nervous at all? Good. So this is called the transverse view. And this
At Brain Matters, they believe their doctors can link blood flow changes to behavior problems.
Here, and the back of your head is over here.
Matthew's results are explained by Nancy Goodhue, a social worker.
Coming out like that. Deep in your brain, Matthew, in the middle part of your brain, it's called the thalamolimbic area, and that's where your emotions live. So this area here, the thalamolimbic area, should be yellow and light brown, and for you it's red and white and a little bit black. Okay? So this is something that, because of the pattern, it's suggesting to our doctor that Matthew might have some trouble with mood. So the recommendation is for some medicine that actually stabilizes the mood.
The family is impressed.
I know Matthew's never been on medication before.
I think they've done a great job explaining what the results are. I don't really understand the medical terms that are being used, but I think it's pretty much on target.
And so we really have an opportunity to influence his brain between now and the time he's 25. He's 11 right now.
Do you think that it's raising false expectations?
You know, I really hope not. I think compared to the interview, the diagnostic interview and the paper and pencil test that we've had so far, this is just so far and away better. Even though it's not conclusive, it's much, much better than what we've had historically. So these little yellow areas here,
we all want a simple, easy solution for these complicated life problems. My view, to put it very simply, is if it's too good to be true, it is, in fact, unfortunately, too good to be true.
We're at least 5 to 10 years, if not more, off from that being a really reliable clinical tool. Right now, it's strictly a research tool.
But Brain Matters has already reached millions, now with centers in Los Angeles and Seattle, and has been featured twice on Dr. Phil.
We can see the bipolar pattern much earlier in someone's brain.
Meaning those areas on the top of Fred's head do not receive the right blood flow.
Brain Matters is just one example. There is now a cottage industry of diagnostic centers, self-help books, internet sites, and nutritional regimens, profiting from parents' desperate search for solutions.
All right, can we do that?
Absolutely.
Are you down with that?
Yes.
In 2001, when Frontline first reported on medicating children, the chief of ADHD research at the National Institute of Mental Health was Dr. Javier Castellanos. He acknowledged then that brain science was in its infancy.
The brain is the most complex thing we know, changing, rewiring itself. And so what we measure are very crude preliminary things, but we've only been at it for about 10 or 12 years. We don't yet have our Einstein. Then, about a year ago...
Dr. Castellanos is now the director of research at the Child Study Center at NYU. We went back to see him to ask if there was a solution to the lack of knowledge about today's psychiatric medications.
I desperately need to know, personally, what in the world these things are about. And I can't figure it out.
We found him brainstorming with other neuroscientists.
So essentially you're entering all the covariates simultaneously, or you're taking the...
Once a year, they meet and try to solve some of the biggest questions in the field.
Really complicated the results. And
why should the brain invest so much caloric energy in maintaining...
You used to say you hadn't quite found your Einstein.
Well, I think that we're probably not looking for an Einstein, although it'd be great if one showed up. But I've changed my metaphor slightly, and now I'm thinking more about a kind of group project.
He found that these resting EEG asymmetries in alpha were predictive of task performance.
Dr. Castellanos now advocates doing what pediatric cancer specialists did in the 70s. Back then, childhood cancer was an almost certain death sentence.
Does the antimatter? Constant question.
The model is there. Every child with cancer in this country is part of a study. You can't get treated otherwise. Pediatric oncologists got together and said, we can't do this one by one. We have to form these associations.
By networking and comparing treatment regimens, doctors learned what worked and what did not. The system is still in place today.
We've been able to turn this around so that now it's at least 90% cure for childhood cancers. And that's a huge turnaround.
Everything that happens in the clinical treatment of kids with cancer is set up in such a way that you learn something. You learn something about what cancer is, how it should be treated. Think about the extraordinary public health impact of making that kind of principled commitment. That's what's missing. And in my view, it's scandalous.